So welcome everyone to the Smart Consumer or Smart Builders uh, Mastermind meetup, weekly meetup. Thanks for everyone joining us. If this evening, if anyone has any wins to bring up, I know Vince has been sharing some awesome wins in the group as well, but some testimonials, just some awesome stories, something from your experience this past week. Feel free to share. I always love doing that at the beginning. I know a win for me is I've finally dialed in my routine and a couple of habits. Am I still on here? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I totally thought it cut off because I was like, this is really quiet. So I've done some routine building in the last in the last 4 years and probably my whole life, but more exclusively this last 30 days has been really pivotal for me. And I'll be honest with everyone here, it's the first time I've ever went 30 days consistently with anything. And I know that might seem at first you're like, oh, Brody, what? That's impossible. But if you really start to track your actions, you might find it's really interesting, something that you've done, consistently for 30 days, other than, getting up and putting a pot of coffee on or something like that, something that was challenging, that you put yourself into a different box. It wasn't a box that you were comfortable in. You stepped out of your box and you went into a different box and it was uncomfortable, but you knew it was for positive growth and change. And you move forward from that. And I want to express this in the most easiest and effortless way, because I think the undertone of everything is everyone has this belief that change is hard. And I don't even think that's like a bad belief to have, or I think that's real. 100% change is difficult. It's not, if change was easy, everyone would be, making, would have the perfect body, would have the lifestyle that they'd want to be living and have the money in the bank account and blah, 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 right? So it can be hard. And life in general, it can be difficult, but a huge aspect of this, and something that I want to start off on, is our language with this. Because if we start to say that things are hard, or change is hard to do, or change will never happen, you can see in my wording that I'm already off to the wrong start. I'm already off to a bad start in a sense, because I'm limiting myself and my possibilities with this. And so I'm a fullist. I'm a realist. I'm an optimist, and I can be a pessimist at times. But I use those different parts of myself at certain times for my benefit. And so it's not all about being optimistic, but it's not all about being pessimistic, right? And always being realistic and blah, 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 right? Like, it's a good balance of everything. And yes, so we're going to get into the content I have prepared for everyone tonight. So just give me a second to pop this up here. And then I'll need your help to just let me know that everything's working tickety-boo. So, So can everyone see this? Can everyone see the slide? It should say how habits.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we're talking about tonight. How do these habits work? Like, a lot of people talk about changing your habits, or like you got to make more positive habits. And I mean, this is not like a new fit at all, especially for entrepreneurs in our space. But I think what's best, and this is for me, and I'm a little bit dyslexic. I'm actually not that smart as much as people want to think that, but I take things down into small chunks so that I can understand them first. And then once I have that basic understanding, it gives me a lot more clarity and foresight. And I feel sometimes people just don't go into the basic understanding and they get caught up in certain things. So that's why I wanted to come through with you guys and gals tonight. And we're going to go into, working. Okay. Can you guys see the next slide?
Not yet.
Perfect. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover tonight. First, we're going to cover the habit loop and how to create positive habits the easy way. Next, we're going to touch on the magnificent healing power of love and gratitude. I don't even think I said it right the third time, but bear with me. And to wrap it all up, we're going to have a little exercise and a little homework, and you guys have actually seen this before, but I'm going to challenge everyone to start implementing it. And if you haven't already, or if you have, let's take a look at what you've been doing and some of the successes you've had. The questions. So we'll get to that.
Brody, we are still on the first slide.
We are still on the first slide. Here's what it says. Here's what we're going to cover.
How habits work. Is that correct?
I don't know why this is there. Now it'll work. Now it changed, I bet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think hopefully this works still, but okay, I'll just let everyone know when I'm changing the slide, and I think that'll work best. Okay, so I'm changing the slide. Everyone can see the next slide? Good.
Yes.
And I think it'll work, but I just got to learn some of this software that I'm using. It's a little new, and it takes another person to test it. So thank you for being my test subjects. I apologize. So this is the habit loop. And if you know, I think it's Carl, don't quote me, it's Carl Sagan or something, but it's a pretty popular book. It's a yellow book and it's red. I should have it around here. It's out in my reading nook there, but it's called the habit loop. And I'm pretty sure the book's called The Habit Loop too. I'll post it in the group, but like lots of people have seen this book and lots of people haven't read it though. Lots of people have seen it, but really I can summarize this whole book into this graphic. So then I'll save you some reading time too. If you can understand this, then you basically got 80% of the book. The rest of the book is basically testimonials to back this up. So this is how our life works. And truly, honestly, like I haven't seen anyone that can't get behind this because it is fact. So this is what happens in our life. You know, first we have a cue. A cue could be like we wake up in the morning and our cue is, I need coffee. Or maybe we smell coffee brewing and we're like, ooh, coffee, right? And that puts us into our routine. And that might give us certain types of emotions, start getting us to think about certain types of things. And then the reward is drinking the coffee and feeling stimulated, right? Like, woof, I'm ready to go now. Let's go, right? And so goes around the habit loop. And so with certain things, like, and this is both for positive and for negative. Like someone has a cue, I'll just bring smoking, you know, this is a very common thing that everyone's trying to remove as a negative habit, smoking nicotine. And so you have the cue, like the urge, oh, I need a cigarette. You go through the routine, smoking the cigarette, and then it's the reward, right? And so obviously I'm not condoning or anything for anyone to do harmful stuff to their body or put poisons into their body or anything like that. But it's interesting how people can get into this habit and not be able to get themselves out. And what I find a lot of people do, and I'll just take smoking for another example, is they say, I'm quitting smoking, I'm done, cold turkey. And they have a really hard time with it because it's complete willpower. And they take away their reward more often than not. Lots of people don't supplement themselves with something that's very rewarding. They're like, oh, I'll chew gum or I'll play with my pen or whatever it is. Like, is that as rewarding as smoking a cigarette? I used to smoke and it's just plain old no. So that's just the brass tacks on that. You need to fill the reward center with something that's equal or just as exciting as what was before, else you're just going to come back to it. And so and then the best way for me to explain this is through an example. And so this is the toothpaste story, the Cliff Notes. And so you'd read this in the book, but essentially we haven't had toothpaste for that long in the grand scheme of things. I think it's like, it doesn't say on there, I don't know, but it was around 1920. If I was going to just take just a shotgun guess. I'm sorry, you guys, I didn't have a lot of prepared information, but you'll still get the gist and you'll still get everything you need. I'm sorry if the facts are a little loose. That's not going to affect the the effectiveness of this story. So the toothpaste came in around 1920, or there was versions of it, or it started to become popular, or it didn't really start to become popular, but there was versions of toothpaste around. Some people were doing it, some people weren't doing it, type of thing like that, right? And I believe it was this person here. He figured out that there was a certain type of thing he added into his toothpaste one day, or for cleaning or for benefit, and it made his mouth kind of tingle. And he's like, "Oh, that's interesting," you know, and he started to implement this into his toothpaste, and his toothpaste started flying off the shelves. And he started doing some research, and I think maybe he did some research, or he already understood the habit loop and started programming this into it. But people started to say that it's like, I use this, or I enjoy using this, or I know my teeth are clean now because of the tingly feeling in my mouth. That's how people finally knew that their mouth was clean. And so begets why we all use toothpaste, and for other reasons as well too. But that was the big thing that caught toothpaste on. Before it had the sparkly tingly feeling, no one cared, honestly. As soon as it had the sparkly tingly feeling and someone said, that's how you know your teeth are clean and you have the film removed from your teeth. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And so after even a week of doing that, you'd feel really, really unnatural if you didn't do that routine, because your teeth wouldn't feel tingly in the morning. You wouldn't feel that. And so you feel like you're missing something. And so hopefully you guys can start to formulate how habits are formed, and how maybe even you can start to formulate this formula here. So maybe you have a cue, like you get off of work or whatever it might be, and you're like, oh, all I want to do is just sit on the couch and watch TV today. Right? Which I get it. Sometimes we have those days. But if you know the cue and if you've written that down, the normal routine would be to sit on the couch and watch the thing. But now that you're aware and you have more awareness, you have clarity over this, you're like, no, I'm going to do something that's more positive, that's going to be bringing me closer to my goals, whether that be some sort of development, marketing, or reflection, something like that. I'm going to do that during when I get that cue. When I get that cue where I just want to be sitting on the couch, I'm going to tell myself I want to do something different there, right? And this can be a hard thing. It can be something that you don't necessarily want to do, per se, as long as the reward is satisfactory. So treat yourself after that, you know, and obviously try and not treat yourself with something of really, really high sugar content, because it'll just not have long-term health benefits for you in the long term, especially if it's processed. And that's where it's like me, when I think treat, I think candy or something like that. But no, it could be something like just rest, reflection, going for a walk, chatting, taking time away, just taking a break, or doing something more in something more of a hobby for a little bit. My reward for when I've gone through a routine would be something like going for a walk, reading a book, or playing the guitar. But that's because I've formulated that. I think in the early beginning, a reward for me would be like going for a beer with friends, like totally leaving the office type of thing, being like, okay, I'm done, I did my work type of thing. But then I started to formulate more effective habits and things like that along the way. You start to build more positive and more powerful habits. So that was the habit loop. Is there any questions on the habit loop? Or does that make crystal clear, perfect sense?
Crystal clear, perfect sense.
Perfect. Awesome. And super easy to keep I'll post this slide in the group too. Print this out and keep this by you. This is a good slide to keep by. Okay, so now we're going to move into probably one of my more favorite subjects out of all the subjects that are out there. And I've spent a lot of time on this and dived into it. I can hit this from a couple different angles, and we'll hit it for the next 10 or 15 minutes. And then once I see that I've kind of gone over, then we'll move to the next thing. Because like I've got a lot on this, because before realizing this, my life was miserable. And I was the unincredible Hulk. I was angry at everything and everyone. for what reasons, irrelevant to this training at the moment. Lots of childhood trauma and things like that. That's a lot of things where everyone else gets a lot of those attachments and things like that. But once I realized that being grateful for life brings more things to be grateful for, I realized that this is the most gratifying, most satisfying habit loop that someone could spend their time on during their day, during their life. And I started to realize myself and many of the others around me, and a lot of people still in society, they're ungrateful for the things in their life. And so it happens, asking you shall receive, be careful what you wish for. More things to be ungrateful for show up in their life. So, and maybe you've seen this presented in a couple different ways, but I just want you guys to just sit with that and almost just look at ourselves at almost like this programming computer system. And that's just a great way for me to explain it without going into any types of like spiritual types of things, but this is a very spiritual topic. But you can look at it from a very, very surface view, and then you can attach your spiritual beliefs or your spiritual knowledge, the way you like to look at your life, with this, on top of this. I'm not trying to say that this is a whole entire different spiritual thing at all. It literally is in everything. I've done my research, and this shows up everywhere. And once you tune into gratitude, essentially be grateful, you become a magnet for more things, for more grateful things, more things that you enjoy. And so it literally is the sauce. It's the secret sauce to why and how a lot of successful business people and a lot of successful teachers, educators, performers do what they do. And so I want to give you guys some examples of how you could get into a gratitude, basically practice, a daily gratitude practice. And so some questions that you can ask yourself, and I have this, it's a gratitude assignment, and I'm gonna, this is part of the homework, and I'm gonna plug this in to the group for everyone and on the Google Drive so that everyone can access that and download it. But I'm just gonna read some of the questions that are on the sheet, and you answer 3 things for each of these. So the 3 most amazing people in my life. The 3 great things about my physical body are. The 3 great things about my home and where I live. The 3 great things where I work and what I do for a living. 3 great gifts and unique talents and skills I have been given are, and then you list. 3 great gifts of knowledge and experience I have been given are. 3 ways I've experienced luck in my life are. 3 ways in which my life is wealthy, abundant, and prosperous are. And so those are all really, really, like, I call them high vibrating, but even just like positive aspects to life. And so if I focus on the more positive aspects of life in a practice daily, continually, each day, then maybe only for 5 or 10 minutes, I am going to be in the frequency and a magnet for all of these things to come into my life, essentially more positive things. But just know that there's 2 sides to the coin with this. If someone's not necessarily into a daily gratitude practice, and there may be a person that wakes up and they start to look at the negative aspects of life right away, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, our news and media channels tend to be biased on more negative content. And less than 10, and some news stations, only 1% of their content is actually positive. And so just by nature of just living and being a human, we are being bombarded by negative aspects of life. And it's not that I'm not saying to avoid completely or not be worldly or not know what's going on, but just be aware that what you focus on is what you get. Be careful what you wish for, ask and you shall receive. and it starts up here. It might come out of here, but it starts up here. And so just be mindful. That's all I really wanted to share with that, is be really mindful. And so another kind of added thing with this too is like, okay, Brody, but like, and this, cause this was me, right? You know, someone's like, oh, be grateful. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. But like, how? Like, you know, like when you're so low, when you're feeling so, the feelings of low are anger, resentment, fear, guilt, shame. It's really hard to see anything positive. You almost have this lens of that on, and everything you look at comes back at you that way, because it's this like, what you focus on, what you get. But I'm just trying to get to the point of like, so then how can I get out of those negative habit loops? How would one do that? And that's where I don't have slides on this, which if you want to learn about it more, it's a concept that I didn't design. It's very much a known concept. You can just go onto YouTube again, but I might have to, let's just even, I'm gonna stop share and then bring up share for just this main thing. So you guys can see this word. It's called Hopo, oh no. Oh Lord. And when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, nope, I'm good. But how this, and I guess I can tell the story of how this came into my life. So Ho'oponopono, what came to me at a time when I was very low and I was very dark, and I looked at life in a very dark way, and was very reactionary towards my peers, business partners, friends, and I still have a little bit of that comes off sometimes, and I apologize if you guys have ever felt anything that like that from me. But again, like, I grew up in a lot of negative programming when I was young. I thought that was just how you treated people. I didn't think that was wrong at all. It was an interesting time in my life, but grown and gone out of that. But I was in a bookstore and I was buying, literally I came to the self-help shelf and I just went like this to the bookshelf. Cook. And then just like koof, cart. And then I just came to this. And then when I did that, this tiny little book slipped out, and it wasn't that extreme, but there was this one specific author that I wanted, Abraham Hicks, and I just went, look, all of you. I'll just take them all. And that's where I started my journey with personal development. But there's this other book that kind of flopped off the side of it. And I was like, huh. And I picked it up, and it had this title on the front of it, and it said, this ancient Hawaiian shaman practice for reconciliation and forgiveness. Very similar to what this Wikipedia page basically is saying. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, I'm not Hawaiian. I'm not an ancient shaman. I'm like, I've never heard of stuff like that. And I've kind of been very resistant, I'll just say, because I came from a very Christian background. So I was like, nope, that's blasphemy, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, no, I was like, I felt like really strong energy towards this book. And I was like, you know what? It was only like 100 pages, and I was like, if it's not that much, I'll buy it. Like, if it's a $10 book, I'll buy it. That's no big deal. What's another book, right? And I went to the kiosk and whatever, and I didn't even remember to check the price. And literally, I'm coming home now, and I bought these books on a trip. So like, traveled. It's been weeks and weeks, and I haven't really looked in that book bag. I was kind of on the go, and I'm walking into my room, and the book bag kind of rips. And guess what book falls onto the floor? This Ho'oponopono book. And I'll share the book in the messenger. I should write down what all I'm going to share, but I'll hopefully remember it all. Or remind me if I don't. And so then I was like, okay, I got to read this thing. And so it was a really interesting and a really awesome book, and it changed my life from that moment on, because it was the first time that someone gave me actual, real, actionable advice on how to be grateful. How to connect into the higher part of myself, how to really get past all of that. And like I said, I grew up in a Christian background. I read the Bible. I knew the stories. I'd had people speak in tongues over me, like lots and stuff like that. So, but I still was very angry and very upset with the life and everything like that until I found this book. So I just wanted to share that to kind of give some authenticity and some weight into like what this is and how that works. So I'm going to bring up another screen. So, I'm going to give you the gist of this. but it can definitely go into so much more. I actually have a podcast I did on this, and tons of stuff, but this is the basics of it. Ho'oponopono is 4 phrases or 4 words. You could really even break it down into, I just call it words, but it's actually phrases that you remember, and that they're like your sword. They're like a battle axe against negativity and negative people, negative experiences, negative things, basically anything that it feels like it's holding you back in life and you can't focus on what you truly want to focus on. And this can be after hard breakups, business opportunities failed, failure in general, someone saying something really, really upsetting to you, or maybe even you saying something really, really upsetting to someone else. This clears and cleanses all of it. And so how this starts is I explain this like if you bruised or bumped your knee or hurt your knee. So you get up in the morning, you think about coffee, but it's too late because you stayed up, and then you're in a rush and you're going out the door and you smoke your knee on the coffee table or whatever it is like that, right? And you're like, son of late, and you're late for work, and you get up to, and like, so it's just, you feel this like anxiety, this like almost rapidness of like, it's not calm, it's not ease, it's the exact opposite of whatever that is, right? And so boom, you bruise your knee. And that's basically when this practice is when you whip this out, like for extreme circumstances, when it's just out of control. Or try it out on other things too. If it's not as extreme, it's gonna work. I know it works. It's worked with myself and multiple people. But when you first do that, our first reaction is like, son of a, and like, and saying stuff that we wouldn't normally say. And we're very much just almost like calling our knee or our stub toe names now. You're like, oh, how did that? And like, just being very ungrateful towards it and very like not positive towards the experience, right? So what do we do in those situations? Right off the start, that's not the way you do that, because things tend to happen in threes. And I'm sure you all have a day or can remember a day where it was like stub toe, came to the car, flat tire, came to work, someone said something really mean or whatever, like it almost like piled on that day. And what I'm trying to show you through this habit loop type of thing is that it's from what we're focusing on. And so if we can change our focus for a second, it can change our trajectory in our day, in our month, in our year, in our whole entire life. Michael, I love the add-ons. I'm liking, that's a perfect add-on right there. He's got the graduation hat there or whatever, ceremony hat. That's awesome. So first phrase of the 4 phrases. So number 1, I just bumped my knee. I'm about to say, oh crap, but no, I wait and I say, forgive me. So this can be towards a knee. This could be towards a thought. This could be towards someone else. This could be towards yourself, right? Forgive me. Forgive me for bumping this knee, or sorry. I totally screwed this up. The first one is, I'm sorry. Apologize. First one is, I'm sorry. And that's the first one. I'm sorry. And it's just like, even look at this as an altercation you've had in the past or whatever, or any type of altercation. This is the healing journey. I'm sorry. First, you got to say to your knee, and what does a mother do when a child has bumped his knee, hurt his head, whatever, hurt their body? What does the mother do to make it better? Can anyone answer this?
Kiss the boo-boo.
There you go. And and where does that come from? And why is that so ingrained into our society? I think it's because it works. It literally is like work magic in my life, on my nieces and nephews' lives. Like it does have this magical effect where they're not focusing on it by all means anymore, right? So then they're focusing on living life again type of thing, right? But first is, I'm sorry. And so you're looking down at that bruised knee, and you're starting to tune more from anger into compassion about the situation. So I'm sorry. That's the first one. And you start to just say that. I'm sorry into whatever it is. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that I had to bump my knee. I'm sorry that I was so busy that I ended up hurting you in the process type of thing, right? And forgive me. Forgive me for being so, unease and not unpeaceful and just like, you know, not looking at the bigger picture or whatever it might be, or just like saying things that I didn't mean and all these different types of things like that, right? Forgive me. Third step. Thank you. No, this is the interesting part where no one's really maybe even seen this, you know, and dealing with stuff like this, because it's like that knee bumped you for a reason. It's the way I like to look at it. And sometimes with people with disease and illness and stuff too, and I'm not like chronic illnesses, that's like a whole different type of thing, but I've noticed with people with like broken arms and like broken ankles and stuff like that, it has to do with something where they were too busy, or they were like getting ahead of themselves, or they were like, and maybe you know those types of people where it's just like they never stop and nothing, oh, it's just my life's just crazy, blah, 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 I gotta go, talk to you later type of thing, right? And then they're like, boom, and then they get a broken leg, and they're like, I'm in the hospital, and you're like, no, go figure. Well, heal well, like, but, and I always look at that now as like, your life or your knee or the higher power slowed you down because you were trying to go at this way too fast. I'm in a hurry to get things done. Oh, I rushing, but life's no fun. All I really got. Michael's closing his ears. But if you know that song, it's just like, I'm in a hurry to get things done and I don't know why, right? Like, we're here to live and enjoy. And so if you're in so much that fast-paced, you know, Wall Street reality like that you're damaging yourself and others, slow down, stop, literally pull the car over because something needs to change, right? And so thank you for this scenario happening so that I could have this pausing moment, so that I could have this newfound clarity. And literally, it's just an opportunity for you to practice gratitude. So then it's like, boom. And maybe you can even start to look at your life in a more like connected way now when things happen now. And that's what I'm hoping for everyone, to stop looking at life as just, oh, that's just the way it is, and start looking at it more in a way of like, that happened, and I apologize that it happened, but I'm really appreciative of it for it happening now. And then in the end, all that really leads up to is because like now this very you know, very ethereal or outside thing that you didn't think that was connected stopped you for a moment so that you could have gratitude, so that you could program better things into your reality. It's like, man, I love you. I love you. And so now I've remember that scenario, and maybe you guys have remembered a scenario, or maybe it was one recent where something got bumped, something bruised, said something or whatever, and we went into resentment, anger, frustration, and we just went, ah, crap, right? I'm taking that same scenario, and by the end of it, I'm saying I love you, which just doesn't even seem logical. But when you start practicing this, all it takes is these little 4 energy shifts to get yourself back into that good vibrating, that good essence, and that good energy. So I didn't think I was going to go that deep. I didn't even think I was going to talk about Ho'oponopono on this, but it felt relevant, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. There might be questions. Did you guys have any questions right now specifically on it?
Yes, I'd like to see your podcast.
Okay, yeah. I think I don't know if it's live still, because I took down the old podcast because I want to start one new. I don't know why I did it, but I was kind of just doing some house cleaning. But I have the recording, and I'll upload it and can share it with everyone. But yeah, I did a really good job into some of the research into the science behind it a little bit. It's a little bit pseudo. I apologize, but you'll have to practice it for yourself and then just see the results for yourself. It's very like, it can happen after this meeting. You can practice it on something and it works. So I don't know. And so, but one thing I wanted to bring for people, because I never like to be too pseudo or whatever, or like, you know, that's a term that people use when you don't have something really provable data or whatever, or something that's like, you know, whatever. But this is something that always caught my eye and was one thing that really, really enlightened me to like what the possibilities are. And so all this really does is it gets you into this this thought pattern, and then I want you guys to go and obviously do some more of your own research and practice this out more for yourself. But there was an experiment done by Masaru Emoto. Might have been, I know it's Emoto, but I don't know his first name very well. Masaru. And he wrote his experiment in a book called The Hidden Messages of Water. And essentially what he did was he had a whole bunch of glasses of water, and on some of them he was yelling very anger, frustration, hateful things, negative things to it. And on the other side, he was saying very positive, loving affirmations and good healing thoughts toward the other side. And they used cameras to make these micro glimpses of the certain times when they were saying the different phrases. And it was really interesting on the results that they got. And a lot of it has to do, and what a lot of people are thinking now, and what a lot of science, we're getting to this now in science, we're getting to this, and sometimes in some of the other circles, but love and gratitude has the ability to change the shapes, change the oscillations of the atoms and the cells within, or atoms or cells, we shouldn't say cells, atoms within the water. And so it's very visual, this, and I'm going to bring up the experiment, and so you guys will be able to see the differences. And so this is really interesting. Here's a good one here. So every time that it was more on the more positive, uplifting, just more in those higher vibrating thought patterns, the constellations, or basically the formations, were unified, and I'll just say beautiful. You know, this is the snowflake thing, right? Where no one snowflake is the same. But if you ever look at a snowflake, it's a piece of art. Every single one it's this amazing architecture of almost like a medallion, or what do they call those things? Medallions, or yeah, it's just a very cool fragmentation into all these different fragmentations. I don't know the exact words, but what was really interesting was anytime they used something that was on the lower vibration, the stuff that caused dis-ease, a lack of ease within our bodies, really interesting on what the formations look like. They were very not uniformed and very scattered and very divided and very not unified. So it's just something to take an honest look at. There's not really a lot on that experiment other than just this visual, but I feel like it has face value. And so hopefully that is impactful for you guys too. And I tend to believe that this is we're on the brink of this discovery in a lot of cases. A lot of ancient texts have basically said this for a long, long time. Now modern science and philosophy and psychology is catching up to this finally. And so that's why there is a little bit of the information isn't maybe as congruent or unified on all different areas right now, but I feel that we're very much stepping into that now. And within quantum physics, actually, they're starting to prove a lot of this stuff that since a lot of the spiritual, more ancient texts were saying for a long, long time, but they just weren't able to prove it in their way with numbers and figures and facts, right? But I think we've all know that there's a space for proving something with scientific figures and facts, and there's also experiencing something for yourself and realizing how that benefits you as well, regardless of whether you can strap a device to you and read and then make a chart on it and then prove it to other people and stuff like that. It eventually gets to that point. So that was section 2. Definitely look more into gratitude and starting a gratitude practice. And then that's why this ties directly into my next subject. I'm just going to bring it up, which go back to the slides we're covering now. So we just covered gratitude, and now we're going to move into the habit builder exercise and homework. And so this should be fairly easy because I brought it up a couple times already. But we're going to work on this together a little bit, and then everyone else gets to customize it as well to their own personal needs. But I just want this super simplified off the beginning, and then from there we can build a foundation off of that. So let's go to this. So I'm going to share my screen once more here. So the habit builder, you guys have, most of you all have seen this. And actually, this one I don't mind, but actually mine's been building a little bit more. And so I'll probably edit it so this matches up a little bit more. But this is the only part I wanted you guys to see on this one. So I've kind of color coded this as like almost like the difficulty, where it's like, it's really easy here. And then once you reach about day 14, 15, Bob Proctor talks about this, but he calls it the terror barrier. And it's when your old life and your old paradigms and your old thoughts and beliefs are meshing with these new paradigms, these new changes, and these new desires and these new beliefs and basically things like that. And they're coming and they're combating against each other. And very much each of them wants each other to like be a part of your experience now. But this one, the older paradigms, the older beliefs, the older habits, they're strong. And that's when people give up. It's around that 2-week period. And so once you're aware of this, it's so powerful because you can start to prepare and set your days up properly and maybe even add on some extra armor in a sense to be able to make it through that section. Because once you make it any days past 28, and I usually do a full 31, that's when it's like almost, it's so second nature. It's like this revelation moment where you're like, I've formed a new habit. And so I want you guys to come back over to this one here. And I might even take this out. I don't know. I'll leave this in here for you guys if you want to take it out. It's not necessarily the one. This hasn't been really this doesn't really make a huge impact on my results, I don't feel. The things that make a huge impact on my results are my morning routine, marketing, and literally these things for right now. We can definitely add, and like the thing is if you guys are showing up weekly, you guys are going to be learning something. You guys are going to be developing yourself. I'm going to make sure that you guys manage that side of things. Whatever you add on to that is a bonus. But just know by coming to these weekly meetings, you're very much educating, sharing, learning, and basically activating the parts of your brain where if you weren't coming to a daily or weekly mastermind, you'd want to be reading some books and you'd want to be teaching some people in some way or form because you just wouldn't be activating those parts of your brain and not really growing as an individual. So that's where it's just like, I think we can basically break this down into this because like, and you could even just say like daily tasks, but I just don't want people to confuse like our goals, are fairly similar inside of this business as far as like we want to reach the different heights of this business, like this is the financial monetary side of our goals. We have our whys and we have our bigger picture and the bigger perspective of why we're doing this stuff. But the financial goal or the like business goal, for the majority of us right now is smart builders. So this would be like all the tasks that get me towards smart build to becoming a sales master. Did I say smart builders? I meant sales master. So sales master is that first leg on the leg of leadership positions inside of Atomy. I don't even know if they call them leadership positions, but basically the different reward levels, the different plateaus. And those are just like excellent landmarks for everyone to set so that they can be focused on moving forward towards something. And lots of businesses have that model in place for that reason, so that people can set their sights on reaching a goal. And that goal being very inspiring to them. And then but once you set the goal, setting the goal is the easiest part. Taking the action, or basically all the stuff that comes after setting the goal, is the magic. I was going to call it work, but it's the magic. That's where actually everything starts. Setting the goal is kind of like, I could set 100 goals. It doesn't matter how many goals I set. I could read them every morning and every night. But if I don't start taking actions towards things that get me closer towards those goals, it is literally a waste of time. You might as well be doing something totally different, right? So thoughts, actions together create this. And what some people have called this, knowledge is just knowledge until applied, you know? And I look at knowledge. Knowledge is just generally just knowledge. Like, I don't really care if someone has knowledge and they just want to spit knowledge to me, because for the most part, they've probably been repeating that from somebody else's experience. What I want is wisdom. I want tested knowledge over time and through your experience told through a story, and hopefully a couple backings on that of people that you've shared it and the influence that it had on them as well. And yeah, I'm kind of a hypocrite with some of this stuff here, because I'm very much, I don't have a lot of examples of other people practicing this like off the cuff. If I dug around in some of my teams and some of my stuff, I'm sure they could do something for me, but this has worked for me. And if I'm just going to get super honest and authenticity, this last month, applying this routine has absolutely remarkably changed my life. And the thing was, is just, I've been kind of focusing on some other things and stuff like that. And I reached a point where I actually was able to sit down and start doing my routine and not get distracted. So that was like a huge benefit. And so, because distractions are real, all these things are real. And like literally your whole entire life is going to combat you to make sure you never reach this 31 day. I'll just say it like that. It's literally that powerful on how much everything starts to come at you. But with the awareness of it, it's so effortless and ease, because then it's like these things are happening and you're like, no, I know what my habits are. I know what my goals are. You're not going to pull me away from those things. And so like when people have fear, when people are distracted, when people are just not making progress, it has nothing to do with a lot of the things that they think it is. I'm not even going to try to profile. It has a lot to do with them not having a goal and not having a vision and not working towards it. Without a vision, the people will perish, is how it's been said in the past too. So all I really want everyone to practice for this next week is getting into a routine like this or one similar to this. And it really just has to have the energy or the components of what I'm expressing here. I'm usually not a person that likes to say, here's what you got to do to be able to get to your certain goal. I'm like so intuitive and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. But just take from my experience, I was kind of like, no, I'll feel it out. I'll figure it, like, it's just like, I like being intuitive. And then when I finally sat down and tracked and basically faced the music, my life is like a symphony now. It's like so amazing that I finally was able to like strip some of the stuff, some of the illusions, some of the things that I was doing to myself. So how this would work is you wake up and this is the first thing that you start looking at, because this is like literally, it's your day planner, it's your goal setter, it's your almost like your visioneering type of thing too. It's everything all in one. So this is all you need to create your results with this, right? Or sorry, this is all you need to keep track on creating your results and taking consistent action. So start time, that's just sometimes, whatever. It's not relevant, so I'm just deleting it. So when you wake up, you start your morning routine. Your morning routine are things and like, the most basic morning routine, you can have a lot of different things. Like everyone has a morning routine already. Like they wake up, they might drink a beverage or something like that, coffee, sit at the table, read the newspaper. Like that's already a routine. It's just like what qualities of that routine is helping you move towards your goals. And so I guess the first step that's been trained in a lot of different places, and I hear it show up all the time, is first go through your regular day and write down what you're doing and how much time you're spending on those certain things. And then get a clear look at what your routine and what your habit is at the moment. And then you'll start to be able to better predict and better like organize and be like, yeah, I spent 45 minutes chatting with my sister or whatever. That could have been a 15-minute call, or like maybe not fast. That was a weird example, but maybe like 45 minutes scrolling on Facebook, totally, and leaving Facebook kind of like deflated. Don't do that tomorrow type of thing you tell yourself, right? Okay, so what's something that I can put into that time that gets me closer to my goal of sales master, right? And so now we can start positively planning and programming our days to reach our goals. And even if we trip and even if we fall, we just got to be mindful, aware, write that thing down. And then like, and coming back to the habit loop thing, right? Again, you guys, like, you have the cue, you implement a new routine, and then you get the reward, right? And the rewards, you can have little like cookies along the way if you want to set yourself up that way, or you just kind of like, what I do is I'm fueled by my why. And it's at the bottom of this one. See, like, I got to add a couple things to our other one. I apologize. But your why is your fuel. And that's what keeps you going. Anytime you're about to waver off your habit, you come back to your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you start this business in the first place? You know, like really getting back into that energy and being like, okay, yeah, that's why I'm not doing that today, or that's why I am doing this today. And so you start to realize very soon is that habits are just choices, and you're either adding choices or you're removing choices. It's literally as simple as that. And yeah, I could have gone on so many other tangents, but I'm not. But with morning routine, all I want everyone, just the simplest, most basic morning routine is, I want everyone to get into the habit of writing 5 things they are grateful for in their life every morning. Just 5. And I'm gonna give everyone the gratitude assignment sheet. It might even call that. It's just a fun gratitude sheet that you get to whip out every morning, and you leave that assignment just like, oh, I feel so good. It's an amazing, amazing practice to get into. So if you have a hard time getting into that grateful state, that's what the assignment's there for. But really all you need to do is focus on 5 things you're grateful for. And that could be like a thing, that could be like warm water in your house, or like, running water and a warm shower, a full tummy, healthy family, living in relative peace, for the most part. It's hard to say that with everything that's going on right now, but living in a first world country, the majority of us here, and we're living in a state of peace that a large majority of the world doesn't have, so even that is like, just waking up in a first world country is a lot to be grateful for. Like, so if someone can't find something to be grateful for, and they're living in Canada, USA, Australia, New Zealand, all the first world, whatever, and there's so many more, right? Not even, there's so much more than that, but like, there's so much more you can be grateful for. So just do that. 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes is all that takes. So that's out of your working day, like 0.5, maybe even 0.25% of your day. So just do it. Nike quote. Literally, there is no excuses to not have some sort of like, and if you already have some sort of praying or religious practice in the morning, just like make that like, add this or add it, or make it just like really think about that while you're doing it, and just know you're doing that to be a magnet for all these other good things, and to bless and be happy, and and just like really flow into that. And like, because sometimes I feel like people are maybe praying, or maybe they have a practice like that, but they don't feel that after, right? You should feel it after. You should really be inflated with joy and elation after that. And that's the energy, and almost like that's the set point you take into the rest of the day. And so how you start your day is how you start the rest of your day, and how the rest of your day goes. It's how you start your week. It's how the rest of your week goes. It's how your month goes. It's how your year goes. So one could say how you start your day is how the course of the rest of your entire life goes. And each day you have an opportunity to basically make a choice and change, and like positively move towards those more uplifting, more positive, more the goodness of life. Yeah, the good life, right? And so after you're done that, marketing. And so marketing is like, and you guys can customize this to whatever you guys want to do. But my challenge is for everyone to reach out to at least 10 people per day. That's a good kind of like just a good face value thing to get into. And this is just a great way for everyone to come into this. Where's the page promote? So a friend of mine, he posted this, a really good thing, and I just wanted to just grab from it. So I'm gonna have to change this up a little bit. Oh, team build. Oh, Tuesday. There we go. Perfect. Just gonna drop that in. You know that I took it from him if anyone else is in that group. So, and we're good friends, so he won't mind. So this is the places where you can find and contact other people. And then so the only other conversation you need to get into is, do I want to reach out to this person directly and start out telling them about the Atomy business, or, you know, basically like very directly saying like, hey, just a quick second. I don't know if this would interest you, but I just wanted to drop this so you knew about it, type of thing. And you're very direct. And a lot of people tend to be kind of like against direct, but you do get people with direct. And then so if someone's just like trying to just take a couple shots out there and get some people in, that will work eventually. The other way is building rapport with people, seeing what's going on, asking them what their goals and desires are, and seeing if they need if they want any help, if they want a recommendation for some help, and then sharing the Atomy program, sharing your why, sharing the Mighty Atoms, sharing what you think is best, and then so doing that with about 10 people per day will keep you on a consistent timeline. And so it's not like it's 10 new people and stuff like that, but connecting with 10 people per day, messaging them, following up with them, sending them the link, answering their questions, you know, just being service, just being good service to other people. That's what that's all about there in that marketing level. So do that and then make a check mark there once you're done. And then night routine. So night routine is reflection. It's all reflection. It's all rest, relax, and reflection. It's taking this and or turning it off, but more importantly, just being with you and your loved ones and your thoughts, and just reflection and looking back on your performance, essentially the tasks and the actions and the choices that you've made throughout the day. And then asking yourself, you know, what could have made today just that little degree better, you know, and then maybe focusing on what did I do today that made today great. And I've actually got a good thing here. This is just right close to me. Oh. I can take a picture of this and send this to you guys, but it's the bedtime visualization process. So it says, tonight, as you lie in your bed, focus your attention on the best feeling things you can find. Draw your thoughts inward, away from any overwhelming details of your day. That's an important one. I know a lot of people that go to bed with the overwhelming details of the day to the point where they can't sleep. And I just feel super bad for anyone that's going through that, because it's definitely not, it might not even be their fault, but it's definitely their choice. You don't have to go to bed like that at all. And this is something that can help that. So not focusing on the overwhelming details of the day, and rather feel the ease that occurs when you focus up close to where you are. Think in detail about your bed, its comfort, the feel of the bedding. Think about the relationship of your body to the mattress. This goes deep, but it works, you guys. And imagine the mattress floating on your body, being absorbed into it. Relax and breathe. Most importantly, breathe in and out, and enjoy the comfort of your bed and of your life and just of it all. Just kind of like rest in that feeling. Say things like, I like this. This is a good thing. I have a good life. And you sleep. And yeah, that's the nighttime practice. So, and then it also has a morning practice, but it's very similar to the gratitude one that I had. So it's more in that visualization thing. So after you wrote your 5 things, if you wanted to do that, like this is kind of like that extra level. But I find anything that you add on extra with these specific things, not always extra doesn't always mean good, but with this, especially on the beginning, to build up your momentum, visualizing, just closing your eyes, being quiet for 5 minutes, and just thinking and imagining the things that you just thought you were grateful for, or not thought, but that you are grateful for, right? And just kind of like, it's called stacking rocks. And so your life is almost like, it's like this way system. And the different thoughts that we have, the different actions, the different thoughts that we have, the different words that we say and phrases, and the different actions that we take stack rocks, either for the more negative aspects of our life or the more positive aspects of our life. It's not to say that everything negative is bad and everything positive is good. Life is life, and life is happening, and all of those things are a part of it. But for us to maintain a level of ease, I feel sometimes people have stacked quite a few rocks, and just like, I'll just say it, society as a whole has been stacking a lot of rocks on the more negative aspects of their life. And this happens to be, and this is like programmed in from us from a very young age. And it just continues, right? Until we basically release these things. Unless you had parents that just like loved you for every ounce of that you are, and never ridiculed you, and never said nothing bad about you, and never ever, like, they were just like literally like the golden parents, and you were the golden child, and life has never had anything negative in your life at all. Like, obviously that doesn't even sound real, type of thing like that, right? And especially people coming from the older generations, I find their parents were stiff and they were tough, and they didn't have any of those types of things going on. They loved you, but you'd have to, it took a lot to even get them to say something like that, So just know that it's not your fault with a lot of this stuff, but it is your choice whether you want to continue to live in a lot of those things and stuff like that. So, and these are all the things that you can do in a matter of 30 days. This is where it gets kind of like, in 30 days or less, I'm going to help you change your life. But honestly, truly honestly, if you get full check marks with these 3 tasks for the next 30 days, I won't even have to follow up with anyone and see how everyone's doing, because the results will speak for themselves. Hand over fist. And I'll just be openly honest with you guys. I haven't been actively marketing Atomy at the moment. I have other businesses that I actively market, but I am actively working with you guys. And my goal is to find more opportunities and ways that I can market this business and bring more people in as well. But just from, I had so many backgrounds of so many other businesses first coming into this, I had to fulfill those responsibilities as well. And so just working myself into a place where I can focus more time on marketing this and building the Atomy family and culture, because I really, really do believe that there is something really special going on here. And I want to have Atomy in my life for the rest of my life, because I feel like it's the most approachable is one word, but it's like the most accessible and easiest way for people to transform their life regardless of their circumstance. And that's the key thing at the end, regardless of their circumstance. And where I'm at with my businesses and certain levels and stuff like that, if you're in a circumstance where you have money to invest or certain things like that, you've elevated your life to a place where you have more levels of ease, there's other opportunities and there's other things you can do and make your money work for you. And that's where I came from, and that's where I just wanted everyone to know that. But yeah, my goal is to be pushing this just as hard as you guys. But I know that you're probably gonna beat me. I'll just say it like that. But I want to make sure that I'm providing you guys the best tools and the best strategies for you guys to reach your goals. Whether or not I'm reaching my goals and Atomy is totally on me and everything like that. And that should be for everyone else's stuff too. But I just kind of wanted to let everyone know that, because I know some might look up to me as like a form of maybe a leader or something like that. And if they're not seeing their leader bring in tons of sales, it might cause some questions to pop up. But just know that I am focusing on other businesses and other tasks when I'm not focusing on Atomy and with my marketing. And for the last like 30 days. I haven't sent out one single message with Atomy, but I'm going to improve that, and I'm going to mold that and change that, because I know that's not a good image, and that's not the best example to set for everyone going forward. But be your own example with this stuff for sure. Like, this is the accountability chart that's going to show you what type of example and what type of way you're showing up. And then it's just, this is very stoic, but you can only control the things that you can control. All the other things that everyone else is controlling, and basically they're out of your control, So don't even worry about it. Don't even spend an ounce or a morsel of time trying to control things out of your control. It's like, does that kind of make sense? As soon as you start controlling things that you have no control over, and I know that sounds ridiculous when I say it, but people do that a lot of the time, it will cause dis-ease and disharmony in the body. But if you just focus on the things that are in your immediate surrounding that you can control, it creates peace, ease, and tranquility. That's the difference. So we went 10 minutes over, but this was a good one. This is one where definitely I think you guys will want to share this with your downlines, and we could even all the links, all this stuff ends up on the YouTube.
Thanks,
but eventually my goal for this is, if we can get like a really congruent training platform and model, we could have this plugged into an evergreen course that, you know, when our newer members come into this business, they can slowly, 20 minutes a day, you know, start working through these videos and focusing on developing the other side of the business, which is basically them. There's the business side and the tasks, that all and everything, the marketing side, and then there's the personal aspects of this business. And I used to think that was ridiculous. I was like, all business, let's optimize the business. Like, yeah, I got some problems. Yeah, I've got some stuff. I got some things I got to work on, but I got to make this business work first. When this business works, then I can focus on all that other stuff, you know? Boy, was I wrong. and honestly, I feel like I'm like biased towards working on myself more, because I have this quote where if you have business problems, if you're not having business problems, then you probably have a good routine and you probably have a good consistency going on. Just implement a couple of these things to improve upon that. Don't think that you have to freaking start at scratch. But if you're having disharmonies, if you're having problems in your business, if you're not reaching the goals in your business, a lot of it has to do with us not performing, not reaching, not being the best versions of ourselves personally, because we're the engine that runs this whole thing. So if we're not running and optimizing and running on all cylinders, your business, forget it. So yeah. Questions on this particular stuff here, the routine? I will share the updated version. I'm going to spend half an hour here and get you guys the content and the links and everything for this.
Okay, great meeting.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Any big takeaways that anyone had?
I saw myself in a lot of things that you said, things that I can change and things that will make me a better person. So I appreciate hearing this.
I love that. And yeah, and so just focus on what's best and what's easiest with this. Like, I'm going to go into vision, you guys, and I'm going to be going into goal setting. Like, those will be all other different trainings when it comes to this. But I just wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek so that you just focus on the things that I'm sharing with you and don't like overcomplicate it right away, because we'll get to everything else and stuff too. But this will be the final sheet that we end up with after maybe in the next, I think maybe even by next week, we might be able to start filling out the sheet as max 2 weeks. But what this has on the sheet is we have the goal at the top. We have a general description, who I need to become. So, you know, this one says, I'm a disciplined master of time efficiency. I focus solely on high payoff and high productive actions. I wake up an hour early and review my priority objectives each morning. And this doesn't resonate with me. I'll read you mine. Mine's like, I wake up anywhere from 5 to 6 p.m. or 5 to 6 a.m. each day, work till about 9 p.m., in bed by 10, sleeping by 11. I'm aligned. I'll stop at nothing to stay in alignment with my relationship to source. I'm fearless. I'm not afraid of anything. I can transmute all of that back into wherever it came from. I'm creative. I'm aware. I'm present. And so like, these are the things that I'm going to need to either be or become to reach these levels that I've set for myself, right? And then so the next area is new habits and disciplines or behaviors I need to start. So these might, like you just said, and that's why I brought this up there, Linda, because there might have been some stuff that came up where it's like, man, like I never thought of it that way, and I could start that, or that sounds interesting. And then so
Exactly.
It's like, those are the behaviors you write down that you need to start, because and I would even just write down things I need to start, and then just write down a couple just notes, because like, if we don't write this stuff down, it just goes woo somewhere else, like, and then if we don't, and like, if writing down's great, but then if we lose that piece of paper, or if it's not by us, then we find it in a year and we're like, oh, that was good. Why didn't I focus on that? Or the best thing is you listen, you learn, you write it down, and then you schedule it. That's how I've known to get things done. I don't get it done if I don't schedule it, type of thing. And then so existing habits, disciplines, behaviors, I need to expand. So these would be things that you're already doing fairly well. It's just like you had a new thing that you wanted to add with it, a new way, a new little tweak. And then last one, the tough love, the tough stuff is the poor habits and behaviors I need to stop. So it's choices, and it's this weighing of choices, stacking rocks on stuff that gets you closer to your goals, and taking off rocks off the stuff that feels like it's limiting you or it's blocking you from getting to your goals. And I will just say this process involves a lot more removing things than it does adding.
Yeah, I believe that. I could see that. That's what I'm thinking. Take that out, take that out. That's
Yep.
thinking. That's thinking.
You can always add it back in. I always start with this, almost look at it as like a fresh slate. The fresh slate is always like, it gives this very clearing energy, and it literally, all the other stuff, just give yourself some time, just like an experiment, to try this on for size. Try it. And obviously don't ruin and don't take away any of the things that have been working for you. But sometimes we don't know what's working for us and what's not. So then sometimes clean slate, wipe it clean, start with this. And you might have had tons of different things and all this. This is where I'm like, whoa, but like, I'm so emotionally attached to all those things that I was doing and stuff like that. But if I'm not getting the result, what's the reason? Why? And so now it's just this emotional kind of like childhood, like lingering to like, oh no, it's this comfortable thing, right? And what this does is this really just like programs and helps you in an easy way to continually put yourself into an uncomfortable position. But if you do it this way, it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but it is growth. But it's everything where all those people talk about, where it's like, you need to put yourself into this other box, and you need to move to a new country, and you need to quit your job, and you need to get so uncomfortable that you're so uncomfortable that you're just like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, like, there is a way to do this in a way where it's effortless and ease. And hopefully this next 30 days, you'll start to realize those same revelations for yourself. So I could go on and on and on, but thanks for everyone for showing up and being here, and showing up for yourself and everything and all the future goals and desires that you are attracting now because of this. So much love.